Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the From Chaos to Clarity Unleash Your Business Potential podcast. I am your host, Sonia Jones of GIP Financials, your Mr. Miyagi of Money. And what are we here to do? Teach you how to know your numbers. And, we've been talking a lot about funding over the past couple of episodes. And thank you guys also for not only hanging out with us on the episodes, but also within the live Q&As as well. And for those of you who are not aware, the live Q&As are accessible via Zoom. So if you're not on our email list, you need to get on there. And how you going to do that? You click the link in the description below, and we'll have a link for you to access our email list. And once you do that, you will be notified about our future live Q&A sessions because you have to register to Zoom in order to access it. All right, so y'all, this podcast right here, I've got the person that all of the folks, when we asked about grants, they talking about one person, the grant writer. And I said, you know what? I'm going to find y'all a grant writer. And guess where I found her at? The Morning Meetup. Shout out to David Shans for the Morning Meetup. If you're not a part of that community, please get in there. David Shans is amazing. He brings so much value, and he's such an inspiration. Like, who's going to get up every day to coach and talk to folks, business owners, about being better? You talking about the epitome of discipline, David Shans, all day long. So shout out to David Shans. But that's how I met Victoria Ravenelle, amazing young lady. And so I want to read her bio so you can just bask in all of this excellence and all this Black girl magic. Are y'all ready? Check this out. So this is Victoria Ravenelle. She is a nonprofit consultant and grant writer dedicated to supporting community-based organizations with a master's of public administration and a certificate in nonprofit leadership and management. She brings expertise in grant readiness, program development, and operational strategy. That's my ops. That's me. As the founder of DMV Consulting Services and a certified Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt, Victoria helps organizations streamline processes, build sustainable funding strategies, and operate more efficiently through data-informed decision making. So, y'all, we got a real one with us on the podcast today. So, y'all, show your love for Miss Victoria Ravenelle. Welcome, love.
Hello, hello. How are you?
All is well. All is well. So, everybody, if you don't have your pen and paper, I know I say this all the time, but this one, you guys, we're talking about grant writers. Here we go. All right. And also, another reason why I have Victoria on is because if you have not picked up our ebook, right, the 5 mistakes organizations make when applying for grants, we talk about grant writers and how one of the mistakes, not the grant writers are the mistakes, but the fact of the matter is when you're hiring grant writers, you don't know what you're asking for because you think grant writers are magicians, and they are not. They are not magicians. So we're going to talk about all that today. Okay. So, Victoria, tell us a little bit about yourself and the story that leads us into the creation of D&V Consulting.
First of all, thank you so much for just allowing me to be on your podcast and be in front of your audience. So amazing what you're doing with getting people financially ready for the real world of just business. And really truly guiding them. So just thank you for allowing me to be with you. I'm Victoria Ravenelle. Like you said, I'm a nonprofit consultant, grant writer, and the founder of DMV Consulting Services. So initially I started DMV Consulting because I was in the nonprofit world and saw a need for small to mid-sized organizations to get grant funding, but they weren't grant ready. So just really with my background in being a peer reviewer, even having to turn down organizations that didn't have the infrastructure needed to get grants. So I just truly wanted to create a space that helped mission-driven individuals and leaders build their infrastructure through telling stories and securing the resources needed to grow.
Love it. Love it. So you had mentioned before that your target audience is primarily nonprofits, right?
Right.
Yeah. And what particular services do you provide through your consulting program?
I provide grant writing, program development, and really strategic planning. So, really supporting organizations in building out their data collection systems so they can track their impact and actually be able to tell their stories to funders.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let's just go ahead and get into the nitty gritty of it. So, can you tell us what is the role or the function of the grant writer?
Ooh, okay. So when I think, oh, okay, Victoria, what is your role in this organization or assisting this organization? Is really being a storyteller. Point blank, period. Storyteller. Then taking that story and building strategy behind it. So we'll take your mission, we'll take your data that shows your impact, and really align that with the priorities of the funder that's providing that grant. So that comes with researching those opportunities, actually crafting that proposal, and then managing any reports that that funder is asking for.
Love it, love it. And I know I had mentioned before in the intro that a lot of times there are businesses and even nonprofits, you can probably say, that assume that if I hire a grant writer, of course, will the chances of your grant increase? I would say yes, right? Because at least you have an expert. But like I said, grant writers are not magicians. And that doesn't mean because I got a grant writer that there's anything guaranteed regarding funding. So can you tell us what does the grant writer not do?
Oh, we don't we're not miracle workers.
Right.
We do not guarantee funding. So we can't create that program for you out of thin air. We can't create your impact. We can only tell the story of your impact. So those are the things that you need to do. As far as even the programming, yes, you might have a program, but what data do you have to back that program? We can't create it for you. We can take what you have and make it sound great. So that means that we can position you, but we can't guarantee that funder is going to actually give you the funding that's needed.
Absolutely. So that's you just hit the nail on the head because one of the terms I like to say, and it's very controversial because I've had folks just kind of like looking at me crazy when I say grants aren't free. And when I say that, it's because you still have to do the work, Cletus.
Yeah.
You still have to do, and shout out to, I know like when we had in the pandemic, the PPPs and that first round of EIDL funding, saying like, the money just came out the sky, right? But friends, that's not how this works. You still have to have a solid, for lack of a better term, pitch or request. You have to tell the story.
Mhm.
Like Victoria said, they're going to ask you, why do you need the funding? And you got to tell them, like, hey, not only do we need this funding, we need it for X, but you have to tell the story behind that to justify the need for the funding. Like we cannot stress that enough. Like I know for GIP, we talk more so about the numbers and specialize in like the program budgets and things because like folks will be throwing numbers up there. Like if it's $100,000 grant, about $75,000 for one salary. Like friend, run it back, run it back.
Rarely do grants give for operations.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to find a grant that'll just give solely for operational costs, and under operations is your salary.
Right.
So they need to see something. They
Exactly.
really need to see something. And I love what you said because grants are competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you'll hear that grants, oh, it's free money everywhere. Just apply, right? They're mission specific and they require alignment. And then in addition to that, it's a partnership. And with partnerships, there's expectations on both sides. So yes, we'll give you this money, but you have to do something for us. You have to give that grant report. We have to know exactly what you're doing with our money. We need that program budget.
Right.
And we need to know that the budget that you provided us is what you actually did. So we're going to audit you sometimes. We're going to say,
Yeah.
okay, you did that. Give us the receipts to show
Absolutely.
that you really truly stewarded over the money we gave you. So yes, free as in you won't have to pay it back only if you do what they want you to do with the money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just piggyback off what you said too, like accountability is definitely the name of the game when it comes to, funding, right? Because every grant's not going to be, the same. Some grants, like you said, they'll cover 100% of the program. And some of them, they'll stand in the gap. That means you still got to put
Right,
in a certain percentage of it before they even want to talk to you, right?
right.
So it really just depends on, like you said, you got to do the research and make sure that the grants that you're seeking are the grants that actually fit your organization and what you're trying to do. So we just gave you a couple of, little myths about, grants and things like that. But Victoria, are there any other types of like myths or inaccurate assumptions? Because like on social media, there are folks out there just talking about grants all day long, and some folks will be like, "Yes," but we're looking at it like, "Really?"
Look, okay, you kind of started talking about it a little bit, but one of the myths I would say is that you can use the same grant proposal for every opportunity. Like once we give you this template, y'all, you can take it and you can apply to every grant you come across. In all actuality, every funder has different priorities, they have different language, and they have different reporting requirements. Even as far as an example of language, you could have a grant proposal come across and they're looking for specific keywords, but you took what you had from that template and you copied it and pasted it and clicked submit. So you didn't take a look at what the requirements were, what their funding priorities were.
Mm-hmm.
Does your business or does your nonprofit align with what they're looking for? And that's not to say you can't repurpose
Yeah.
parts of a proposal, but you have to tailor it to the
Mm.
application you're applying for. So copy and pasting won't work. And that's why a lot of times you do need a grant writer, because you're going to need somebody to go through and audit the things that you've already put in and kind of align it to the applications you're wanting to apply for.
Absolutely right. You can't take that proposal from that tech grant and use it for the workforce development grant. You ain't even reading nothing.
Right.
You just
And does your organization provide that as a program?
right,
You know, if
right,
you go up for tech, what we doing in workforce development?
right. It's just like, yeah, because we see it all the time. We see it all the time. So yeah, absolutely. So we talked about the myths. So we've I guess we've kind of segued into one of the mistakes, right? You just taking that template and then copying and pasting and not tailoring it and not adjusting it to the grant that you're applying for.
When I think through mistakes that I've seen, one could be applying without a clear program. So you know what you do. Yes, you have good work, but they want to know, in addition to what you're doing, why it matters and how you'll measure success. So you have your program. Why do you have this program? What's going on in your community? And how will you be able to convey what's going on in your community and how you're helping? Do you have a pre and post survey? Did you do a focus group to determine why the program is needed? So as far as a solution, it would just to build a true program plan. So your goals, your timeline, activities, and your outcomes. A lot of people do it by actually having a logic model for their organization. So for every program that you have out there, you build a logic model. And it's literally in the name. You're creating that plan, that model of how you want that program to look, why it matters, and how you'll measure that success behind it.
Love it. Logic model. Hope you guys are taking notes, right? Because as I'm working with nonprofits as well, one of the things that I, teach nonprofits as well is like you can't just run your organization just off the program budgets. You have to have an operational budget. That's the end all be all. And from the operational budget, then that's what you use for your program budgets, because that's where I see a lot of times where they're applying for grants, especially when it comes to like salaries and things like that, and they're what I call double dipping. So they'll use that one, particular specialist or coordinator, and they're using them for different, grants. But because of the fact that they haven't had an operational budget, so if that coordinator's salary is in the operational budget, the percentages of that salary should be within the different programs that you provide, right? But if you don't have, you said that logic, right, plan, then that's what's going to, you know, get you dinged up around here later on, right?
Right.
Exactly, especially when it comes to the realm of your financial audits as well, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so, love that. So, we're going to take a break right here. So, we have talked about Victoria, the grant expert. We're going to come back and talk about Victoria, the CEO. So, we're talking about entrepreneurship, right? So, y'all hold tight, and I'm going to show y'all an opportunity. We are having a class soon when we're talking about all this grant money and all this stuff like that. So, I like to teach. So, get ready. Check out this commercial.
Are you stressed about taxes? Can't afford a bookkeeper? You're not alone. Many entrepreneurs owe the IRS or haven't filed past taxes because no one taught them how to manage their books. That is why we created GIP Academy, the financial coaching program designed for entrepreneurs who need help but aren't ready to pay for a bookkeeper. For $3 a day, we can help you fix past bookkeeping mistakes, organize your numbers for tax season, and increase profit with simple strategy. Join GIP Academy today and get the financial confidence you deserve.
And we are back. So look, there's no reason why you should not be at the Grant Lab. Get your behind in this class so you can learn something here. All right. So I hope that you guys learned a lot about the grant myths with Victoria and I. So now we're going to talk to Victoria about her being an entrepreneur and being a CEO. So sis, let's get into it. So
Yeah.
here at GIP Financials, we're all about empowering entrepreneurs to know their numbers and position their businesses for maximum impact. So we got to talk about the numbers. Are you ready?
Oh, I think so. We'll see. We'll see.
All right. So my first question is: so as you've been, developing DMV consulting, was there a time that not tracking your numbers has led you to either a mistake or a lesson that you learned?
Of course, because when you're in the business of helping others, you sometimes forget about yourself, right?
Mhm.
So there was a point in time early on where I was not tracking income by service type because I was so focused on serving clients. You come to me, yes, I can help you with any whatever you need. And it got to a point to where I realized that my offerings were taking so much of my time and I wasn't breaking even in my business. So that was a true wake up call, but that mistake. I was not tracking, I wasn't looking. I was just like, money's coming in. It's good. It must be good. It must be good. But I had to truly restructure pricing. I know we talked about this where I said, pricing is going to change because I have to get more intentional about how I spend my time.
And one of the things that you said was gold. Entrepreneurs, you have to know, like, especially if you are a service based business, what type of service you got to have, like, categories or pillars, right? So, one, when you're running that P&L, you'll be able to tell which services are more profitable than the others. Because if you need to pivot, then it means I need to focus more on the services that people are paying for, not the ones that people are not paying for, right? That is gold, and especially and now also for you guys that have products, right? Think about your product pillars, right? And make sure that you're organizing your income lines in your chart of accounts that way as well. The more data that you have, right, the better it's going to be to help you, especially like, and then nonprofits. Here we go. Come on, nonprofits, right? Local funding, state funding, federal funding, right? Donations. We got to break it down because when it
Even
comes
income.
to, right, and then also program like earned revenue. We don't talk about that enough with nonprofits, right? Because if you have a like an after school program or something like that, if you're collecting money, you got to make sure that you have that separated out because when it's grant time and you got to talk about, your funding needs, that piece of information is going to be critical. It's going to be
Right.
critical because that pricing tells the story of who you're serving and why you price it the way you price it, right?
Exactly.
See? I'm just saying. So Victoria, how you tracking your finances? You using software? What you doing?
QuickBooks. That's where I started, and then I was doing HoneyBook, and HoneyBook kind of
Mm-hmm.
you're able to connect it with QuickBooks right now, but I would say QuickBooks is my go-to because early on in the nonprofit space I was doing
Mm-hmm.
operations, so I had to get some QuickBooks training, and I said, why am I not using this stuff for myself?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I struggling to get my financial documents in order when I have to tell the nonprofits that I work with that they need to do the same? So definitely QuickBooks. And then, when it comes to the end of the year, I do have a tax person that I lean on as well.
Love it, love it. And especially for our nonprofits that are listening, if you have not heard of TechSoup, make sure that you get familiar with TechSoup. Why? Because the monthly fees that you're paying, if you were to go to Intuit and pay for QuickBooks Online Plus, and I always recommend that our nonprofits at least start with that subscription because it has the budgeting element in it. If you get QuickBooks Online Plus through Intuit, you're going to be paying about 80-ish, dollars a month. But if you go to TechSoup, you're literally only paying like $80 for the entire year of licensure.
Right.
Right. So go ahead and get in on TechSoup because that's going to be a way to help you guys definitely save budget wise. Right. Always so yay, TechSoup. Okay. As far as I know, you were mentioned about taxes. So which report do you feel at this stage of your business has been the most impactful as far as helping you to plan, set goals and things like that? Which financial report?
When it comes to financial reports, I would say the P&L, mainly
Mm-hmm.
because I've been looking at how do I transition into a new space of kind of niching down to what I can actually provide in a course versus one-on-one. So I have been downloading it and looking at it every single month just to make sure I'm in line with the things that I really want to provide to the nonprofit organizations that I work with. And then I wanted to make mention of what you said about TechSoup. The only thing I thought about when you said it was that is if they are a 501c3. So you
Yes.
can call yourself a nonprofit organization, but you have to put in the documentation to prove that. So TechSoup is going to ask for information that you need to have, which means you are a true nonprofit organization in whatever state you are in.
Yes.
You can't just call yourself that.
Child.
And TechSoup help you. TechSoup is going to check to make sure you have everything in line.
Yes, clarity is the principal thing here on the From Chaos to Clarity podcast.
Look,
You
let
got
me
to be
tell
a
you, I love me some
501c3.
TechSoup. I love to give out that resource.
Right,
But only if you did
right,
the back end work.
right. And you got to, right. We talk about being legit and having, the right certifications and papers and with that all the time, especially for our for-profit businesses. Because that's pretty much the equivalent for a nonprofit, like for entity structure's sake.
Right.
Right. So absolutely. So yeah, thank you for definitely bringing up that important piece of information. So when it comes to your personal investment, right? When we're talking about investing in Victoria, how are you investing in yourself to be better?
Mentorship, therapy,
Yes.
professional development. It's really been my intention to have people around me that are a little bit ahead than where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've gone through all of the challenges I'm currently going through personally and professionally and can
Mm-hmm.
speak to those. So as far as investing in myself, I will join a mentorship program real quick. Real quick. Even as far as professional development, that's why I'm in morning meetup. I had somebody that came to me and they were talking to me about it and mentioned it. And I said, you know what? You're like the third person. I just need to make the investment in myself. So I'm constantly learning, whether it's about grant writing or it's about really how to manage my time better
Mm-hmm.
because I'm also a mom.
Yeah.
So really just having or presenting myself with the opportunities to really truly get the coaching that I need, the mentorship that I need, and the professional development that I need to be a better person. Because we start with us first before we think about our business. And if we're not doing well, our business is not doing well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, I can talk about the morning meetup, all day. Now, granted, I'm not a morning person. I'll be honest with you. I'm not on there every morning, but I'm telling you,
It's recorded.
with
Yeah.
right, it's recorded, and just for the amount that it costs, like David, like I would consider that an undercharge, because
Right.
like dude on there literally every day, every morning, and then like the caliber of guests that he's bringing on. Right. It's
Right.
just the value is just unmatched. Like, get in the morning meetup, y'all. The app is amazing. Like, it's just so convenient and it's really tech swagged out, all that stuff. It's amazing. It's
It
amazing.
is.
Yeah. And so we talked about how you invest in yourself. Has there been any recent investments in DMV consulting that you felt like had a really good ROI?
Well, I'm currently looking at a marketing strategist because, as far as investing in my business, it would really be to streamline processes and get somebody else to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot, I have tried, not tried. Of course we market ourselves, right? And I think I do a good job, but that is not my business.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing to do with marketing, which means I cannot fathom all of the marketing strategies that could be out there. So I've been doing a lot of consultations with marketing strategists to just
Mm-hmm.
figure out what's the next step so I can scale without burnout. Because that
Absolutely.
is one of the reasons why businesses do not work. And I don't want that to be my statistic because I didn't know how to get somebody else to do it.
Exactly. Right. And I'm the same way, like, especially like with my team, like with my GIP team, I'm in the process now, Victoria, of just like Paul stopping myself, like, why am I doing this? Can't somebody else do this? Can somebody else do this? Somebody else can
Right.
do this, right? And then another thing that we had talked about before the recording was my investment in, social media, like you were talking about the branding,
Hmm.
podcast and stuff like that, because I'm learning too that, in order for you to look a certain way, or if you want the particular outcomes that are going to make a difference, then you're going to have to invest, right?
Right.
It's all good, especially when you starting out to, maybe, get a family member or something like that. But when you are set out like this year, we were like, it's all about advertising and increasing our, engagement and awareness. So we have to look a certain way, right? And me investing in, Jasmine and Delilah have been like game changing,
Oh, no.
right?
Oh, yes.
And just me, because I'm 45, so I'm just sitting there looking at social media trying to get the data, because child, it's the data. I'm looking, see, oh, okay, I see some folks shared it and they did this, that, and the third, because they helping me with the data too. I just need to know if this stuff working and what I need to do
Right.
afterwards, right? And they're younger than me, and look, I'm teachable. Jasmine had me out here dancing, like, we're gonna do this way. Have you seen this? We're gonna do this. I was like, girl,
But it's on point.
it is.
It's on point. Like I'm looking at it, and I told you that's one of the questions I had. I said, "Who is doing this? Who is doing this branding? And if it's you, webinar something, I need a one-on-one. Who is doing it?" So it's definitely working. And I would, it would be wrong if I didn't just say that. Some people are not at the point to where they can afford somebody,
Mhm.
but and also they're interns.
Right, there are.
There are interns that are going to school for marketing that you can leverage. There are
Mhm.
programs, if you're a nonprofit organization, that some schools offer because they're trying to get their interns to have projects. And one of those projects could be building up your social media presence.
Right,
So,
absolutely.
there are always ways to get someone to do it for a better cost.
Right, absolutely. And let's not also forget there are organizations that cater to small businesses and offer technical
Mhm.
assistance where you can get that, that level of service a lot of times for free, right? And you get subject matter experts that'll help you, right? And then also, like Victoria said, like, I have a son that goes to GSU, and once he has a clothing brand. When he had his hand on that camera and he invested in another lens, he been calling me. He was like, "Mom, it's game changer." Blah, 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 blah. And he be tagging me and stuff. And I was like, "Yeah, right," because you want to make sure when you're investing in yourself, right? You got to make sure that you got to acknowledge the fact that you need some help. Can we just talk about that? You got to say, Your girl needs some help out here.
All you gotta do is ask.
All
Or
you
you
do
see
is
somebody
ask.
that's doing something that you want to do. Just like I saw you. I'm looking at your branding and I'm like, I need this. Let me ask. Whenever I get the chance to ask, what are you doing? Who is doing it? What do they provide? Can you connect me with them? It's
Mm-hmm.
all about having that community and actually leveraging the community that you have whenever you decide to invest in some professional development.
Exactly.
Morning meetup.
Mm-hmm.
I done asked many of questions up in there. Can somebody help me
Yep.
for the free for right now?
Mm-hmm.
You never know what somebody's gonna say and who they're gonna place in front of you. Just ask.
Right. And then a lot of times, especially like in community, that's why community is important. Sometimes they're looking for opportunities to show you like what they made of, and like for lack of a better term, right? And that's how relationships get started. Right. Some people just need an opportunity.
Right.
Give them
100.
opportunity. I love it. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So we are about to wrap this thing up. I hope that you guys learned a lot within, this time that we've had together with Victoria. I told you guys that she was a wealth of knowledge and a powerhouse, and she was going to get you all the way together in this 30 minutes that we had together. So, Victoria, I have one question that I ask all of my guests on the podcast. So tell us, why is it important for entrepreneurs to know their numbers?
When you know your numbers, it's about being in control. So when you're clear about what you provide, what you have, it leads to confidence. And if you know your numbers, you can make those decisions, you can plan strategically, and you can avoid mistakes. So when you think about money, it's more so about control when you have your numbers. And that's beyond financial, just financial numbers. That's data, that's impact, that's storytelling. So it's more so about being able to control what's going on within your business to know your numbers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so tell us, I know that you have an event coming up soon. So we dare not wrap this thing up without you talking a little bit about that.
Of course. Just like we've been talking about on here, y'all, just in knowing your numbers, knowing your data. I have a webinar coming up. It's a grant readiness blueprint, just how to leverage your data and your metrics to support your success within your organization. So it's on May 28th. That's on a Wednesday from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. You do have to invest. We talked about investing. It's just $50. A solid investment in your organization's future. We'll bring up essential information, and with that information, we'll also have e-resources you can download while we're on there live.
Love it. And I will also, two things. That's Eastern time, right?
Oh, Eastern time, yes.
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 It's Eastern
Eastern
time.
Standard Time.
Yes, and then I will also like to say, because this particular type of workshop, it is a tax deductible expense because it is ordinary and necessary for your business. Yeah, that's
Yes.
right. That's right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
You can follow me on Instagram at DMV Consulting. That's and as in AND. Or you can visit our website at www.dmvconsulting.com. And we have consultations available as soon as you click on the website. And we're ready to just work with you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, y'all, this is the From Chaos to Clarity Unleash Your Business Potential podcast. And I want you guys to make sure that you guys stay tuned, because we will also release the information for the live Q&A, because of course Victoria's got to come back to the after party, so y'all can ask your questions in real time with her. And so don't forget to sign up for our email list so you can get that information. We will see you guys on the next episode. Take care, y'all. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for tuning in to the From Chaos to Clarity Unleash Your Business Potential podcast. Again, my name is Sonia Jones of GIP Financials, your Mr. Miyagi of money. And look, if you learned something from this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Make sure that you like, that you subscribe. If you have some little nuggets, add some comments to the comment section of this podcast. But most importantly, I want you to share it with your fellow entrepreneurs. We want to share this good old fundamental business finance education so you can have the tools necessary to know your numbers and grow your business. All right. Take care, y'all. I'll catch you on the next episode.